Alright guys, we're going to be talking about the dungeon. If you look across the street, there's a circular orange and yellow sign with a little black sliver of a building. That is the dungeon. The dungeon is our vampire bar.
Ooh.
Y'all see the dungeon? Alright. Yeah, vampires have been a huge part of our culture ever since the founding of the original French colony in 1718. Now in 1718, the city of New Orleans looked a little bit different. It was a swamp, and we were surrounded by alligators and mosquitoes and diseases. No one from France wanted to take a long, dangerous journey across the sea to come live in a swamp. And I really can't blame them. We had a little bit of a problem populating our colony, so we wrote a letter to the King of France. We said, King, you gotta send us some people. So the King opens up his prisons. He opens up his insane asylum, and he sends those people here to populate the colony. As you can see, not a whole lot has changed. Thank you for taking my tour. Just kidding, yeah. So for our men, we've got all sorts of different criminals. Any type of criminal you can imagine, we've got here. But our women are primarily prostitutes. Because prostitutes are great for lots and lots of things. But they're not really ideal for settling down and starting the second generation of New Orleanians with. So we write another letter to the King of France. We say, King, you gotta send us some more women. So the King, in his infinite wisdom, sends us the Ursuline nuns. Now guys, nuns are also fantastic for lots and lots of things. Still really not the best for making babies. The nuns get here to New Orleans. We say, welcome to New Orleans, nuns. We are so glad you're here. Can you bring us some women? And the nuns are able to round up some single middle-class women over in France and bring them here to New Orleans. And these women are given child-sized caskets to put their belongings in for the voyage across the sea. And if they do happen to die on the way over, they'll just get folded up, put inside, and thrown overboard. Now on this voyage, they start to run out of food on the ship. They begin to suffer from malnutrition. Now when you're suffering from malnutrition on a voyage like this, it's very easy to come down with scurvy. Now, if you have scurvy, your skin turns very, very pale. Your eyes sink back into your skull, and you begin to bleed from your gums. Now the day that the ship is expected to arrive finally comes. All the men dressed up in their best suits. They run down to the river to meet their future brides. Now it's around dusk. There's some fog rolling in over the river. And through this fog emerge these women. They're very, very pale. They're carrying caskets. And there's blood dripping from their mouths. Guys, this is how vampires came to New Orleans. We like to blame it on the nuns.
Those damn Catholics.
Now, vampires have been a huge part of our culture ever since then, but with vampire culture comes vampire crime. And this is where our first story begins. It goes back to 2003. There was a man by the name of Sean Johnson visiting here from Atlanta, Georgia. Now, Sean is staying right behind us at the Maison de Ville Hotel. And he finds himself right across the street at the dungeon. Now, Sean is sitting down at the bar. He's sitting next to the self-proclaimed vampire king of New Orleans. And his name is Never. And Never is accompanied by his vampire bride and thus vampire queen, Worry. Now, Sean is so intrigued with Never and Worry that he does what y'all should never ever do. And that is invite vampires back to your hotel room. So guys, Sean does just this. They're back in the Maison de Ville. They've got a bottle of champagne. They're about to pop it open. But Never takes that champagne bottle and cracks it on the top of Sean's skull. Now Worry takes the champagne glasses. She collects Sean's blood and they begin to drink his blood. Then they take the Gideon Bible that's inside the hotel room. They rip the pages out and cover Sean's bloody body with the pages of the Bible. And they begin to chant in a demonic language. And the people in the room next door to Sean call to the front desk. They make a noise complaint. But by the time anyone gets to Sean's room, it's too late. Never and Worry are gone. And Sean is dead. Now guys, Never and Worry were eventually found by the police. Anybody want to take a guess who the vampire king and queen of New Orleans are found? Never?
Cemetery.
Dungeon, cemetery, good guesses. You guys know, not quite.
City Hall.
City Hall, I like that. Guys, they were found at a Denny's in Florida. Woo, Florida!
Who knows?
So guys, be careful because you really do never know when you're going to be around a blood-sucking vampire. Y'all, we're going to be talking about 631, this cream-colored building with the dark green shutters out front. Now in 1803, there was a man by the name of Dan Wayman.
Nope. I've been to Stone Mountain. Does that count?
Don't
touch it. Nope.
Just stay with that. Now, Dan, he's an attorney over in Atlanta, but unfortunately, he finds himself disbarred. So he comes over here to New Orleans to start a brand new life for himself. And this brand new life consists primarily of drinking and passing out drunk. Now, if you're gonna have a life of drinking and passing out drunk, New Orleans is the place to do it. And one afternoon, he finds himself passed out drunk in front of this house. There's a 25-year-old girl named Kate who lives here. And Kate has one very fatal flaw that most of you stare at. And that is that she falls for the wrong man. Now, ladies, if you ever find yourself wondering, I've fallen for the wrong man, ask yourself this one question. As I said, Kate, she's got this fatal flaw, so she takes Dan in, she starts to take care of him. Now, Kate's father comes home, he knows exactly what's going on. He's not having any of it. He throws Dan out. But guys, it's too late. Kate's fallen in love. Kate and Dan, they begin to see each other behind her father's back until the love becomes so overwhelming that Kate leaves her father and moves in with Dan. Now, Dan,
free rent.
is very open and honest with Kate. He tells her that he has a wife back in Atlanta.
In Georgia.
Yeah.
We in Louisiana.
If you're falling for the wrong man, ask yourself the second question. Is he married to somebody else?
Oh, where's my boo?
He might be wrong, guy. Hey, look, what could you do? So Kate and Dan, they have a very interesting domestic relationship, especially for this time period. Dan stays at home while Kate goes out and works for the both of them. Kate gets a little tired of this. She says, Dan, I cannot continue working for you day after day after day. Something needs to change. So Dan says, Kate, darling, I love you. And I have a very, very wealthy uncle. He is also very elderly. When he dies, he will leave his entire fortune to me. So Kate says, all right, Dan, I love you. I will continue working for you until that day comes. Now, guys, 15 years go by. And the uncle finally dies. So Dan breaks the good news to Kate. He says, Kate, darling, you have been such a good girl taking care of me for all of these years. I am so happy to tell you that your burden is finally over. My uncle has died. He has left me a great, great fortune. I am in need of your services no longer. Thank you, goodbye. Piece of shit. Voodoo. He broke up with her after she fucking stayed with him.
Get it out, girl. Get it out. Man, this is like a man-hating thing here. This is harsh.
That is exactly what happened.
Yeah. There you go.
So Dan, as you were saying, he goes off and marries a 15-year-old girl.
What?
I'm just going to
Kate.
That's good for the guys. I'm just saying.
Kate gets smallpox. Now, smallpox is an infection of the blood vessels that affect your skin, your mouth, and your throat. You're going to break out in large, fluid-filled blisters. These blisters are going to cover your skin from head to toe, the entirety of your mouth, and go down your throat. And these blisters are going to turn into scabs. When these scabs fall off, they are going to leave large, crater-like scars all over your body. You are going to be permanently disfigured. And when the first scab falls from Kate's forehead, she saves it underneath her pillow.
Ew.
Now guys, this is very strange behavior. Smallpox is very, very contagious. If you come in contact with that scab, even years later, you can come down with smallpox.
Get him. That's not good for Dan. Watch out, Dan.
Once Kate finally recovers, she's too embarrassed to show her face here in the French Quarter, primarily because of her poor life choices with Dan, but also because she is permanently disfigured. She moves out to what is now New Orleans East, back then was the Swamp, and she quickly becomes known as the Swamp Witch. Now people will come and visit her seeking her advice on all sorts of different matters. She also makes... Not yet, probably not. Maybe she's learned, I don't know. She also makes special creams and ointments from the roots and herbs that grow out by the swamp. Now several years go by. One day, Kate's walking on the narrow dirt path by the swamp and she sees a carriage drive by. In that carriage, there's a man, a woman, and two young girls. And this carriage slows to a stop. The man gets gets out, Kate recognizes him. It's Dan.
We hate Dan.
We do.
Everybody hates Dan.
He's so bad.
Yes, he is. Dan can go to hell.
That's right.
Or get smallpox.
Dan in years, she starts running towards him, screaming his name. Because Dan, he doesn't really want his new family to know that he's had any sort of relationship with the Swamp Witch.
Oh.
He tries to get her to quiet down. Because Kate is so excited, she will not stop screaming his name. So Dan reaches into his pocket, he pulls out a gun, and he shoots Kate.
Murder?
I'm going to take a step
Now
back again. I think
Dan
I
is
was.
assuming that Kate is dead. So he gets back in the carriage and rides away. Kate is severely injured.
Oh, she didn't die.
She's not dead yet.
Woo!
She makes her way back to the swamp. She confides in one of her friends. She hands her a jewelry box and says, "This is my final dying wish. Deliver this jewelry box to Dan Wayman. Do not tell him who it is from." Now Kate dies later that night. In the morning, her friend
Damn
delivers
Dan.
that jewelry box. Now Dan is assuming that this is from a secret admirer. So he opens up that jewelry box. And inside is that first stab that fell from him.
Oh, that's gross.
Now within the week, Dan's entire family comes down with smallpox.
Oh.
Cold-blooded.
She's a dirty
Days
bitch.
later, the newspaper headline reads. The newspaper headline reads, "Dan Wayman dies of smallpox on Christmas Day."
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Y'all watch out for that karma, okay? Order right behind me. Now in 1813, this was a single family home owned by a man by the name of Pierre Jourdain. Now Pierre Jourdain was an exemplary New Orleans citizen. And as an exemplary New Orleans citizen, he liked to do what any other exemplary New Orleans citizen liked to do, and that is one, drink. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Now, Pierre Jourdain was an excellent poker player. Really, that's what he thought. But he was also a very wealthy man. He had a lot of money to spend on these poker games. And so one night, he finds himself in a little bit too deep. In fact, he has lost his entire family fortune on this one game of poker. Because if you're a poker player, then you know that you do not quit while you are down. You will find a way to keep on going until you have won back everything that you've lost. And then some. Now, Pierre Jourdain is just that kind of poker player. And he's got one thing left that can save his family's fortune. Sex. The deed to his family's home.
Oh.
Yes, indeed. Now, Pierre Jourdain, he's feeling that underdog luck. He thinks that he can do it, so he takes the deed to his family's home. He throws it in the middle of the table, and the cards are dealt. When he checks his hand, he scans the faces around the table. So far, so good. The old faces? I don't really know. The flop is out, y'all. The first three cards on the table. He checks his hand, he checks the cards. He scans the faces. Still doing good, guys. Now the turn card comes, he checks his hand almost in disbelief. At this point in the game, he's got what's called the nuts, the best hand that you could possibly have. Now the river card comes, front of the card, he checks his hand one more time. He throws his cards down triumphantly. He has done it, y'all. He's won back his family's fortune.
Woo!
But then his opponent calmly lays his cards down on the table.
Oh, fuck.
And he's got a better hand.
Fucker, let him have his family.
He's got a better hand. He says you have 24 hours.
Oh,
Go home, pack up your belongings, and vacate the building. Now, Pierre Jourdain does go home that night, but he does not pack up his belongings. He goes up to the second floor, where he hangs himself.
Fuck.
And he still lives here to this day.
Oh, no.
Now, currently, this is Muriel's restaurant, and Pierre Jourdain is not so thrilled that there's a restaurant in the middle of his living room. He gets quite furious, in fact. He's been reported to accidentally tip over. Guys, not one glass, not two glasses, but entire shelves of glasses, 20 at a time, will go flying through the air, crashing against the opposite wall and falling down to the floor below. Now, the staff here at Muriel's have gotten a little cleaning up all of this broken glass.
Yeah. The hazard. No, he will kill me. He mad.
They've come up with a way to appease the ghost of Pierre Jourdain.
Also, we suddenly go
in a special room, they set a special table just for the ghost. They put down beautiful linen and polished silver. They place a freshly baked loaf of bread and they pour a glass of wine.
Can you pay to die in that room?
Yes, indeed, you can!
Oh, money speaks.
We get into that.
I'm ready to die and just fucking be the ghost.
And guys, every night when they lock up the
Why not every night? Why not?
every night when they lock up the table, that bread and that wine, it's there, y'all. But in the morning when they open up the restaurant, the bread,
It's still
that's
there.
usually still there.
Carbs.
But guys, that wine,
It's on my ghost.
that wine is usually gone.
The wine is good for the heart.
Done and
That could be anybody.
For an additional $50 per person.
Oh, he's expensive. I can't scare my own self.
You know, from time to time. Now, I can assure you that the food in the rest of the restaurant is actually just as excellent as the food at that table. It's just a little less creepy.
It's really dark here. It feels like I-95 Central Florida.
Let's talk about yellow fever for a little bit. Yellow fever was a huge epidemic here in New Orleans since the founding of the original French colony. Now we know now that yellow fever was caused by mosquitoes. But we did not know that then. We were just, living in the swamp surrounded by mosquitoes. And we tried all sorts of different things to get rid of yellow fever. We tried bloodletting, smoking cigars, special diets. My favorite thing that we tried was one day we decided to set up cannons throughout the city and to shoot all of them off simultaneously. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if we're trying to scare yellow fever away or what we're talking about.
We already learned
Anyway,
about
didn't
this.
work. Let's learn. Hey guys, if you have yellow fever, your skin turns yellow. The whites of your eyes turn yellow. Your fingernails turn black. Your kidneys begin to fail. Your liver begins to fail. But guys, let's be honest, if you live here in New Orleans, your liver is probably gonna fail, right? And then you begin to vomit. And your vomit is black, dried up blood, and chunks of your organs that have begun to deteriorate. And you die a very, very slow, painful death. As I said, this was an epidemic. It was a bring out your dead kind of a situation. We had piles of dead bodies lined up right here on the sidewalk where y'all are standing right now. And these piles would be up as high as my chin. And these bodies are decaying in the hot New Orleans sun. The stench was absolutely horrific. But think about this. When you die, the gases in your body begin to expand. And if you're on the bottom of that pile, the pressure might become too much. And your body would actually explode. So we've got piles of rotting, decaying, exploding dead bodies right where y'all are standing right now. Now, every once in a while, you wouldn't actually die of yellow fever. You would go into a coma.
So you die
know
of
about
pain.
comas back then. We just figured if you weren't moving, you were dead. And you got thrown into that pile of rotting, exploding dead bodies. Now, every once in a while, people would wake up from their comas. Yeah. And we assumed the obvious. That they were zombies.
Zombies, I knew it. I fucking said it.
Yeah, zombies. Then after a while, we started figuring, maybe these people aren't dying after all, so we came up with a system. If you died of yellow fever, or if we thought, maybe you had died of yellow fever, you still got thrown into that pile of rotting and exploding dead bodies, but we would tie a bell around your toe. If you woke up stuck in that pile and you needed help escaping, all you had to do was wiggle your foot, and someone would come and rescue you. We have two very popular phrases that come from this practice. The first is dead ringer, and the second is saved by the bell. Now this bell practice was transferred into our cemeteries as well. We have a very unique burial practice here in New Orleans. All of our graves are above ground because of the high water table here. And these above ground graves work as natural ovens. After you've gone through a hot New Orleans summer in that above ground grave, your body is going to naturally turn into ash. So you're going to be buried in that grave for 1 year and 1 day. And after that 1 year and 1 day, we're going to open up your grave, take your casket out, scoop up all your ashes, put them in a little baggie, drop them down the laundry chute at the end of the grave. And now we've got a space for a whole other person to be buried. Now that's a practice that we actually still do to this day.
What?
And at the end of the 1 year and 1 day process, we would be opening up these caskets And we would be finding scratch marks on the inside lids. We'd be finding scratch marks on the inside lids. We were burying people alive. So we continued the spell practice in the cemeteries. We had a guard standing 24 hours a day listening for the ringing of bells inside the cemeteries. And many, many lives were saved because of this practice. So the guards who worked all night long listening for the ringing of bells, they coined the term graveyard shift.
Oh, that's where it comes from?
That is where it comes from. Yep. Working in the graveyard. Middle of night.
I work graveyard.
She works at a strip club. Don't listen to her.
I'm a bartender.
That's a graveyard. Sure, if you're working at night,
Dead people everywhere.
Alright, y'all, our next haunted story is going to take place in a haunted bar.
Ooh.
Is this the all
Proper
cash bar?
response. Yes. Everyone else. Come on, y'all.
Okay, let me do it again. Ooh.
We're going to take a 10-minute break inside a haunted bar.
Ooh.
That's how I like it. We're going to take a 10-minute break. I'm going to tell y'all the story after we take our break, just so y'all can go in with an open mind. I would like to remind y'all that service industry professionals in New Orleans, as in most cities in America, are paid $2.13 per hour. So if that is you, please begin to that.
I'll need to tell you again.
Let's go.
Only $2 out here?
You're not my dad.
I am.
You're not my dad! You're not my dad! You're not my dad!
So guys, the bar that we were just at, MRB, originally was a brothel.
What?
I got that vibe.
Yeah.
I was in the men's restroom.
So guys, prostitution was a really, really, really big deal here in New Orleans in the late 1700s, early 1800s. Prostitution, brothels, there's actually a little bit like Starbucks. Okay? Brothel
One on every corner.
Single street corner. Now, I'm sure y'all have been on Bourbon Street. Y'all seen the girls who hang outside the strip clubs, right? Got sparkly G-strings, high heel shoes, not a little whole lot of those.
Danielle.
Try again. So guys, there's a similar kind of a situation, except for that these women would be hanging outside with these brothels absolutely naked, advertising what you can get inside.
They don't get cold?
I mean, right now it would have been, but in the summer, it was great. I'm assuming. I was
We don't judge.
So guys, as I said, these brothels are on every single street corner. So if you're going to walk your kids to school, you're passing a brothel. You're going to go to church, going to go visit grandma's house, you're passing a brothel.
For your mom?
And this is starting to cause some problems. Some families are having to have some conversations they're hoping to put off for a few more years. It's starting to get out of hand. But guys, we can't just get rid of prostitution. This is how we're making our money here in the French Quarter. But something does need to change. So City Councilman Sydney Story comes up with a solution. She said,
Storyville.
that we are going to have a small section right outside of town, and this is going to be the only place where prostitution is not illegal.
Red light district. Storyville.
Not legal, but not illegal either. And this quickly becomes known as Storyville, named after City Councilman Sydney Story, much to his chagrin. He quickly retires from politics. Okay, Storyville was the best of the best. It was fancy, classy, and exciting. These were large mansions that were entertainment complexes. They had the red velvet, the gold trim, plush couches, dangling chandeliers. There were large bars that were hand carved out of wood and stone, and they served alcohol that was imported from all over the world. They had gambling halls, musicians playing live jazz music, opium dens, and of course, there was the sex for sale upstairs. Let's go, yeah. Give him a time machine. Let's go. Now, there were anything that you could dream of, you could find over at Storyville. We had a little blue book that was our guide to Storyville. It had depictions of the women, their dimensions, what they were willing to do. Guys, if you wanted to find a mother-daughter act, you could find that. In that
That's
little blue
gross.
book.
That's gross. That's gross.
You wanted to find a mother-daughter donkey act?
What?
You can find that. In the little blue book.
We go to sister and sister.
Sister.
Okay, there were a few brothels that did remain here in the French Quarter, and these brothels served our God-fearing citizens. They still wanted to get their cakes, they just didn't want to be seen over in Storyville. You guys think my favorite Skittles were a little bit too herself. She takes a long voyage across the sea. Her ship comes up the Mississippi River. It docks. She takes her first steps onto the Louisiana soil. And a handsome young man approaches her. He says, "Excuse me, miss." She hands up a note. "Are you from Dublin?" She says, "Well, yes, I am. How did you know?" He says, "Well, my aunt, she also is from Dublin. She's got a house just up the street, right here where MRB is today." He says, "You must come and meet her." And Maria's been here all of 20 seconds. She's already making friends. She thinks this is a fantastic idea, so she comes over here to meet the aunt. The aunt is named Dan.
Fucking dance.
Damn, dude, I swear to God.
Then she comes over to the brothel. The aunt, Dan, sits her down on a couch. She pours her a special cup of tea, and they begin to talk about life back in Dublin. Now, as Marie begins to drink her tea, she's... As she drinks her tea, she starts to feel a little tired.
What?
And Anne says, "Of course, darling. You've been on such a long journey. You must be exhausted. I've got an extra bedroom upstairs. Why don't you go up and take a nap?"
I'll turn the light on.
So Marie goes to take a nap. And she wakes up much later to a man pulling up his pants. And guys, unfortunately, this was not uncommon. Many women were kidnapped into the brothels in this very way. Most women were too ashamed of themselves once they realized what they had become to go to the police or to try to seek out any sort of help for themselves.
Study to pay through college.
Yeah. Now, one night, Marie's got a customer. He's a sailor. Now, this is not uncommon here at Port City. We do have a lot of sailors that come through here. But this sailor seems to be different. He doesn't just jump into things. He sits down on the bed. They begin to talk. And there's a spark. And by the end of the night, they've fallen in love. And the sailor says, "Marie, I'm going to make an honest woman out of you. I'm going to make you my wife."
Don't tell me this.
So he goes down to talk to the aunt, but it turns out it's not that simple. Because you see, Marie is a top earner here at the brothel.
That's right. Independent woman.
And her freedom must be bought at a very high price.
That's right.
Now the sailor does not have that kind of money, so he signs up for a one-year voyage at sea. And at the end of this 1 year, he will have enough money saved up to buy Marie's freedom. Now the sailor promises that he will return at the end of the year. The lovers kiss and part. The sailor goes to sea and Marie goes back to the brothel. Now she marks the days down on her wall, one by one until finally the year has passed. Days. Marie puts on her best dress. She goes down to the river to await her lover's ship. Finally it arrives and the sailors begin to disembark. She scans their faces one by one. But she can't find him anywhere. Until she notices that the sailors are unloading some of the cargo from the hull of the ship. And then with that cargo are caskets. Then she asks one of the sailors what those caskets are for. He responds that they are for those who have died at sea during the past year. But she asks if they have a list of names. The sailor hands her that list, and on that list she finds her lover's name. And Marie is absolutely heartbroken, but she's also feeling quite hopeless. She doesn't think another man would come and try to rescue her the way that this one was going to. Most men had no respect for her because she had been with so many others. So she comes back here to the brothel, where she hangs herself. And she haunts the bar, MRB. Now Marie is not too fond of the female patrons who go into this bar. I think that's pretty unfortunate. I'd say we're all fantastic. Don't blame that one on the ants. If you're a woman and you go into this bar, you might feel an icy breath on your neck. You might get a pinch on your skin, maybe a pull on your hair. You might get locked in the bathroom. The gentlemen.
I shouldn't think I was bad
You
enough.
guys. If you're a man and you go into this bar, you might feel a hand caress your thigh. You might get a kiss on the cheek, maybe even a head massage.
He jumped out of his cab because I realized.
Now, some people say that Marie's just doing and does what she did in life. She's just looking for another John. Others say that she's trying to save up her own money so she can buy her own freedom in the afterlife. And still others say that she is still searching for that one perfect lover who will come and rescue her. Any questions? This is Pale Yellow Hotel right over here with the black ironwork out front. anybody
smart.
guess what does like cedarwood? Fire! Yes, indeed. We've had two great fires in our history here in New Orleans. First one was on Good Friday in 1788.
Always on Good
I think Good
Friday.
Friday, a very wealthy man, also a very devout Catholic. He sets up his altar, he lights his candles, and he kneels down to pray. Now this man is so focused on his prayers that he does not notice when a curtain catches one of the candles and goes up in flames. Now he does eventually realize that his home is burning down, and when he does realize, he runs down to the church to have them ring the church bells. Now at this time we don't have smoke detectors, we don't have fire alarms. What we would do is we would ring the church bells whenever we needed to alert the city of any emergencies that might be going on. But as I said, it's Good Friday. And it is sacrilegious to make a joyful noise on such a somber day, and that includes the ringing of church bells. In fact, the bells have been tied down so that if a breeze goes through the bell tower, keep it down for me, please. If the breeze goes through the bell tower, the bells will remain silent. The church refuses to ring the bells, and 70% of the city burns to the ground, including the church. Now, 6 years later, we have our second great fire. You think we'd be a little bit more prepared for this one, but preparedness is really not a top priority here in New Orleans, and 30% of the city burns to the ground. We have 3 original French buildings remaining to this day. Now, the Andrew Jackson Hotel was a school for boys, and it did burn down during our second great fire. And most of the boys were able to escape with their lives, but when the fire was put out, the bodies of 4 young boys were found huddled together in a back room. Guys, scoot on forward, make some space behind us, please. Thanks, y'all. These boys died. Keep it down for me, y'all, please. Thank you. These boys died of smoke inhalation. Now, guys, when you die, your spirit remains the age that you were when you died. So these young boys are still young boys, and they're spending their eternity at school. Now, guys, these young boys, they like to do what young boys like to do. They will run up and down the hallways of the hotel at all hours of the night, yelling and screaming and giggling. At one point, this was an adults-only hotel. And I'm sure y'all can imagine what might go on in an adults-only hotel. But one thing that does not go on in an adults-only hotel is young children yelling and screaming in the middle of the night. The guests would call down to the front desk and would say, "Why are there children? Where are their parents?" And they would only have to respond, "Well, as you know, this is an adults-only hotel. There are no children here." Now, these boys are little pranksters. They'll tie your shoelaces together.
I got it.
But they're also pretty smart. They've learned how to use our technology.
Oh.
One thing they've learned how to use is the remote control. Anybody gonna guess what these boys like to watch on TV? Porn. Good guess. Not quite though. They're a little bit younger.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah, cartoons. Now, let's say you're gonna be spending the night in a lovely hotel. You come back from a long night on Bourbon Street. You kick your feet up. You turn the TV on. Let's say you're watching the news. All of a sudden, the TV will turn to cartoons. It will change it back to news. It will transform to cartoons. News, cartoons, news, cartoons. So, guys, yeah, what? News, cartoons. Whoa. So, guys, you're spending the rest of your night watching cartoons. Which, you know, could be you could make some porn, yeah. Now,
So annoying.
my favorite story about this hotel happened quite a few years ago, back when we were still using film cameras. There was a couple staying here. There was a family, they were having a great time out in the French Quarter. They took lots and lots of photos. They took photos of them drinking giant beers on Bourbon Street. They took photos of them covered in powdered sugar at Café du Monde. They took photos of the architecture, photos of the street musicians, all sorts of photos. They come back at night, they notice that they've got 3 photos left on this particular roll of film. And they say, "Great, we can use those photos tomorrow morning when we go on our swamp tour." So they go to bed. They wake up. They go on their swamp tour, and they see an alligator. So they get their camera out to take a picture. The guys, there's no more film left.
Oh, they're crafty.
And I think that's a little odd, but maybe they had too much to drink last night. No big deal. So they take their roll of film out, they put it in a roll of film, and they continue taking their pictures. Now they go home from their vacation. They get their film developed. They're looking through their photos. There's the beers on Bourbon Street. There's the powdered sugar at Café du Monde. There's the architecture. There's the street musicians. There's the alligator. are of them asleep in bed.
No. Throw those away. Throw those away. Throw them away.
It was you in the kitchen.
We need a sticker to listen.
If you guys decide to come back to New Orleans and stay in this lovely hotel, I've just got one recommendation for you.
No.
Sleep with this guy.
Guys, wear your pajamas.
Wait, what?
Aspect of New Orleans architecture. Now, if you look behind me, you'll see an example of a balcony. I'm sure as y'all are aware, a balcony extends from the home part, right? But not all the way to the end of the sidewalk, and it's supported by brackets. Now, if you look above us, you'll see something very similar. This is called a gallery. A gallery extends all the way to the end of the sidewalk, and it's supported by poles. Now, if you look 3/4 of the way up these poles, you'll see some spikes. You'll see these spikes? And spikes are called garde bris. But we lovingly like to call them Romeo spikes. Now the saying goes that if a man decides to climb up those poles, he will go up a Romeo, but he might come down a Juliet.
Ooh.
Now guys, you put spikes on your poles if you had a teenage daughter living at home. Now the story goes back to the 1820s. There's a very wealthy family living here. They have 3 children, the oldest being a 16-year-old daughter. Now this family is getting ready to go out for a night on the town. They're going to go out to a restaurant and then to the theater. Now the daughter says, "Daddy, I am so exhausted from all of my studying. Would it be alright if I stayed home and rested while the rest of you go out?" And the father says, "Well, dear, you are 16. I do need to learn to trust you eventually. Why not start tonight?" So the daughter agrees to study, to practice her piano. The family goes out, the daughter stays at home. Now the family goes out to a restaurant, they have an excellent meal. And then they go to the theater. And when they get to the theater, the father realizes that he has left his tickets at home. So he comes back, he opens up the front door. He hears a strange rustling sound coming from upstairs. And this could either be one of 2 things. But Daddy does not like either of these 2 things, so he grabs his rifle. He goes upstairs, he opens the door to his daughter's room, and he finds his daughter
Having sex.
sitting very politely on her bed.
Oh, she's quick.
Reverse cowgirl.
And she says, "Oh, Daddy, are you home already?
Oh,
Time
Daddy.
just flies when you're studying and practicing the piano." The guy's daddy's not buying it. He takes a look around. He notices a shadow coming through the curtain. So he opens up that window, and on that gallery, he finds a 16-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan.
Now, Daddy doesn't want to kill this young man, but he does want to scare him into never coming back. So he takes his rifle, he points it right at that young man. And this boy does not know that he's not going to die. All he knows is that he's looking at the wrong end of a rifle. So he makes a very calculated decision. And that is to climb over the railing and to leap, catching onto the pole
He died.
just in time, keeping his manhood intact. Nice.
What manhood?
Now guys, believe it or not, he is successful. He climbs over that railing, he leaps, he grabs onto the pole just
like a
in
third
time.
leg.
He keeps his manhood intact. The guys with spikes catch him in the belly button. And as gravity does what gravity does, he slides down that pole, those spikes go up.
Yikes.
Through his abdomen, into his sternum, until he finally falls down to the street below. And for the last 20 gruesome seconds of his life, he spends looking up at the tip of the garde bris, where his intestines are still dangling.
Oh, God.
Now guys, every once in a while when you walk around in the French Quarter, you might feel a drip. Now this is not all that uncommon. We do like to water our lovely plants. The water will fall down.
I thought it was rain.
Oh, so it does rain here quite a bit. Now guys, if you're walking by this house and you feel a drip, you might want to check. Because it might not be water. It might be blood. If you're lucky, you might see that young man lying down in the street with his intestines still dangling. But the weird thing about this haunting is that it has been reported to take place not only at this house, but at 5 other locations, all in the French
He's a busy boy.
There were not 5 other young men who died in the same way. Hopefully only one young man had to die before everyone learned their lesson for the rest of eternity. It's my thought that this young man had 5 other girlfriends.
Yeah.
And he's spending his eternity visiting all 6 of them because he did, after all, keep his manhood intact. Let's keep going. Voodoo.
I'm
I
Haitian.
came over here from Haiti.
Whoop whoop.
It was a monotheistic religion. There's one God. You're called to be a good person. You need to take care of the poor, feed the hungry, care for the sick, things like that. And there are voodoo spirits that you can pray to that will intercede to God for you. Now guys, New Orleans has always been a very Catholic city, but originally that was by law. That meant that if you lived here, you had to be Catholic. You were not allowed to practice any other religion.
What is that
And to this day, the second most practiced religion after Catholicism is voodoo. Now, originally this was a problem because it was illegal to practice voodoo here. So what we did was we took the names of the voodoo spirits.
How is it illegal?
What?
How is that illegal?
Because we were French.
Oh my god. I feel like
Different laws back then.
freedom religion wasn't the thing yet.
Not a thing. We're not America.
I'm gonna let it go.
So what we did is we took the names of the voodoo spirits. We replaced them with the names of the Catholic saints. And all of a sudden everything was kosher. A lot of there's this idea of voodoo being all about evil and hexes, and that's not what the original religion is actually about. In the early 1900s, Hollywood came over here and they got a hold of voodoo, a similar sounding practice, hoodoo, mix those two together, add some Hollywood magic, and that's where you get those kinds of ideas.
Fucking
Voodoo
Hollywood.
dolls originally had nothing to do with putting hexes on people. They were how families who could not read or write kept medical records. You would have a doll for every single person in your family. They would be personalized so you knew who was who. Now, let's say your brother broke his elbow. You stick a blue pin in your brother's doll's elbow so you could remember that that elbow had been broken. If mom started having migraine headaches, you'd stick a red pin in mom's doll's forehead so you could remember that she was having those headaches. There is an aspect of voodoo that deals with spells. Most of them are healing and beneficial in nature. They deal with the healing power of roots and herbs. A lot of our voodoo practitioners actually prefer the term root doctor because of their work with these roots. You all can think of it as an early form of pharmacy or a natural form of pharmacy. As I said, most of these spells are healing and beneficial in nature. But there are a few rare evil ones out there, and I do want to share one with you guys. I just need y'all to promise you're not going to practice this at home. I'm going to tell y'all to kill somebody. No killing the tour guide? Do that much? I'm taking my chances on you. Alright, let's say you're living in a small village and there's somebody that you just cannot stand, you don't want to see them around ever again, right? So you're going to go over to their house. They've got the wash out on the line to dry, so you're going to go over to one of their t-shirts. Now this t-shirt, it's been washed, but it's still got some of that armpit funk going on, so you're going to take that t-shirt, you're going to cut a circle out of that armpit, and then you're going to catch a bee. And you're going to put that bee underneath the glass with that armpit circle. You're going to let that bee fly around in there for 3 days. And all that bee is doing is smelling that person's smell.
Oh.
Starving.
Gross. We're done. Let's move.
After the 3 days, you're going to take an oleander branch and put it in that glass with that bee. And oleander is a very, very, very poisonous plant. If you eat it, you die. If you make a fire with it, cook food on that fire, and eat that food, you're still probably going to die. Fun fact, it's the official flower of the city of New Orleans. Everything makes so much more sense, all right? You're going to take that oleander branch, you're going to put it in that glass with that bee. And this bee has been starving and has no choice but to, guys, make a little bit more space for the script to pass. Thanks, you. This bee has been starving and has no choice but to eat that oleander, take that oleander in, poison into its body in highly, highly concentrated amounts. After the total of 6 days, you're going to release that bee. Now this bee has had its fill of oleander, so it is no longer starving. Now all I can think about doing is finding the person that matches that smell. And when it finds that person, it's going to sting that person. And when it stings that person, it's going to release that highly concentrated oleander poison into their body, and they're going to die. And that's how a spell works. It's really all based on nature and science. When you break it down, there's nothing really mystical or magical about it. Now this is a story about Howard and Lucinda. Howard and Lucinda have heard all about New Orleans. They've heard all about our bad reputations. They've heard about our drinking and our gambling and our drugs and our sex, and they say, you know, we're going to move to New Orleans, and we're not going to participate in any of that. We're just going to enjoy the nice warm weather, and well, that's about it. So guys, they come down here to New Orleans, but guys, within the month, he's out checking out all the brothels. He's got himself a mistress over on Rampart Street. Now this upsets Lucinda tremendously. But she says, you know, it's just a phase. He's out checking out his new surroundings. He'll come back to me. But guys, he doesn't. He starts coming home later and later and later at night, sometimes not at all. But Lucinda is taking just about as much as she can take. She confides in one of her friends. Her friend says, darling, don't you worry. All you gotta do is go see the root doctor. She will take care of all of your problems. Lucinda is a little skeptical, but she doesn't have all that much to lose, so she goes to see the root doctor. She tells the doctor her story. The doctor disappears into a back room, and moments later she reappears holding a vial. Or she says, take this vial. Drop 3 drops of the liquid inside onto your husband's food every night until the vial is empty. And your husband will never sleep with another woman again. Now Lucinda thinks this is fantastic. She takes that vial, she goes home, she makes her husband's favorite meal. She sets the plate down at the head of the table and she drops 3 drops. And she sits down to wait. But guys, he's late. So she drops a few more drops. You know what? He's late again. That's the 3rd time this week. A few more drops. He's probably out with that blonde. She's 10 years younger than I am. A few more drops.
Go away!
Friend deserves to die.
So guys, she keeps dropping extra drops onto this plate of food until she's emptied the entire vial onto that one plate. Now her husband comes home famished from his day's activities, and he eats that food right up. And Lucinda begins to realize she doesn't actually know what was in that vial. She begins to worry that she's poisoned her husband. Now, she bursts into tears. She tells him the entire story. Now Howard is convinced that he's going to die. So he says, you know what, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die somewhere peaceful. Let's go down to the river. I'll die over there. So guys, they walk down to the river because Lucinda is in hysterics. All she wanted was to have her husband back, and now she will have lost him forever. She doesn't think she can handle this, so she says, honey, take me first. And we'll wait for you right here at the riverside, and we can go into the afterlife together. Now guys, I'm not really sure what was in that vial, but it's got Howard thinking a little wacky. He thinks this is a fantastic idea. So he reaches into his pocket, he pulls out a knife, stabs his wife in the throat, and pulls her in his arms as she bleeds to death. But guys, Lucinda is dead. And all Howard has to do is to wait for death to come to him as well. But guys, death does not come. You know what comes instead?
Smallpox! Oh.
And they say, howdy, Howard. What did you do with that dead body?
back here?
Now he tells them the entire story. They're not buying any of it. Howard gets life in prison. And he never sleeps with another woman again.
That's right.
It worked. Serial killer here in New Orleans.
I love serial killers. Go ahead.
Seems like your type of person.
Is he me? I want to.
Oh, excellent. Set you right up.
Yeah, I'm ready.
This is the story of the Axeman.
Yes.
Now, the Axeman murders began in 1912, and they all happened exactly the same way. The Axeman would chisel a panel through the back door of the victim's home. You would enter and find the axe belonging to the family inside. At this time, we all had wood-burning stoves, so it was very normal for families to have axes. So the Axeman would find that axe, and he would mercilessly chop to death every single person living inside of the home.
Sounds like your kind of man.
Leave the axe and the bodies behind.
So turned on.
And there's one very interesting thing that all the Axeman victims had in common, and that was that they were all Italian.
Yes! Those are my fucking people. I'm ready.
You would die.
I fucking love it.
Now, this leads the New Orleans Police Department to believe that this is a mafia-related crime.
Yes!
Now, I'm sure y'all think the mafia. Oh, watch out, make some space.
Oh, watch out. You watch out.
Wow, Heather's head was real close.
Don't fucking hit my best friend.
Now, guys, the reason why y'all seen some mafia movies, maybe some mafia TV shows?
Yes!
A little bit about the mafia?
This
Alright,
is
the
what
mafia usually leave murder weapons behind.
No, they don't.
No.
They're so fucking good about
They
it.
usually leave murder victims behind.
No! Fuck them.
They usually kill women and children.
No! We fucking kill them.
So
They deserve it.
we're all in agreement that this is actually maybe probably not not a mafia-related crime?
Yeah,
Cool. All right. So the reason why the New Orleans Police Department decides that this is a mafia-related crime is because they do not deal with any mafia-related crimes.
But we're the best.
If there's ever a crime that's a little too sticky for them, they blame it on the mafia and wash their hands.
Give me all the ones.
And these accident murders go on for 4 years. Until they magically just stop. And the police say, great, the mafia has figured out whatever it was they needed to figure out. So glad we sat that one out. And there's not another X-Men murder for 2 years. Until we get to 1918, and they start up again. And they're happening more and more and more frequently. Now the people here in New Orleans, we are up in arms. We need the police to do something about this. We cannot keep blaming this on the mafia. But guys, there's a problem. Because you see, the police can't even agree on who a suspect might be. Because you see these panels chiseled through the back door of the victim's home.
She's not my
They're
best
too
friend.
small for a full-grown man to fit through. Now this is early 1900s, before women's liberation. As we know it, there were no female serial killers allowed back then. So guys, there's not a man.
Not a good one.
It's not a woman.
Terrible.
Could be a child, serial killer, possibly a really, really short person, maybe even a demon.
Short people are insane.
No one can agree on who this Axeman murderer might be until we get to 1919, and the Axeman himself writes a letter to the newspaper here in New Orleans. Now this letter is published on the very front page. Everyone in the entire city is reading this letter, and it goes like this. Hell, March 13th, 1919.
March 13th is a couple of days
Immortal.
away.
They have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman.
You can't do that,
When I
so.
see fit, I shall come and claim of the victims. I alone know who they shall be. I shall leave no clue behind except my bloody axe, besmeared with the blood and the brains of those whom I have sent below to keep me company. Now, undoubtedly, you Orleanians will see me as the most horrible murderer, which I am. But I could be much worse if I wanted to. Every night, I could come and claim thousands of your best citizens, for I am in close relationship to the angel of death. And to be exact, at 12:15, earthly time, next Tuesday night, I will pass over your city of New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I have a little proposition for you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music.
Me too.
And I swear on all the devils in the nether regions that everyone shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time that I have just mentioned.
Nice, full of life.
But one thing is certain, and that is that some of your people who do not jazz it next Tuesday night will get the axe. Now guys, everyone in the entire city is reading this letter. All of our music stores are out of our jazz records and our jazz sheet music. A local musician decides to make a quick buck off the situation. He writes the instant bestseller, The Mysterious Axeman's Jazz. Now, every single jazz musician in town has a gig for Tuesday nights. Even the musicians here who don't really play jazz, if people say, hey, can you swing? A little? Can you pretend like you can swing? A little? Cool, you're hired. And the musicians call their friends in the surrounding cities. They say, hey, you gotta come to New Orleans. It's the easiest place to get a gig. It's the Big Easy. That's what we're gonna name the Big Easy. Yeah, those guys take it easy down here, right? Some serial killer and jazz music. And Tuesday night comes, the entire city is listening to jazz music, and there is not a single murder, accident, or otherwise that takes place within the city limits. Now, some of our richer citizens here, they say, hey, the Axeman likes jazz, let's not risk it. Let's have a jazz band playing 24 hours a day. But guys, that doesn't work. The Axeman comes back, he continues his murdering spree. He kills over 95 people.
What?
95 people, over 95 people.
One night?
I put myself right
Entire
now.
spree.
Oh.
Now,
That's not that impressive.
the story comes to a close. December of 1919, a seemingly unrelated act happens in California. Now, with that, a woman shoots a man in a train station. And this woman was an Axeman victim survivor. The Axeman had entered into her home when one of her children was sick. She was caring for that sick child in a separate room, and the Axeman did not think true.